Proof of what happens when you get focused and know where to fix your attention. The second practice of personal leadership is find focus. The third practice of personal leadership is take action. What do you need to do? I have no doubt that you are men and women of action. It's how you got to where you are today. The real question here is not just what do you need to do, but what's the most effective action you ought to be taking and need to be taking if you're going to achieve your grander vision for yourself as a leader? Let's do an exercise. Find a piece of scratch paper. On the left-hand side, write a short to-do list. Just jot down 3 or 4 of the things you have to do today. Again, find a piece of scratch paper on the left-hand side, write down a to-do list, 3 or 4 of the things you have to do today. This is how most people start to take action. They make a to-do list. But listen to the question. It's not very powerful, is it? What are 3 or 4 of the things you have to do today? Just today. Very short-sighted. Let's ask a more powerful question. On the right-hand side of your page, I'd like you to write the answer to this question. What is the single most powerful thing you can do to achieve your vision? The one thing that you know is going to have the biggest impact on achieving your goals. This is what we call your catalyst. You may remember from chemistry class that a catalyst is that one ingredient that when you add it, makes everything else explode. When you're thinking about your vision, there is something very powerful that you need to be doing. My question for you is your catalyst on your to-do list? If it's not, I have bad news for you. You're not achieving your vision. Somehow you've got to get the most important thing on the overall list onto the list for today. I'll give you an example of what this looks like, okay? And when you do this for yourself, you want to think about your overall vision for yourself, ask yourself about your 5 priorities, and then figure out your catalyst. And put that into place, and you'll have a more powerful way of going about leading your life and your work. So one example is a client of mine, we'll call him Francis. He was the owner of a startup company. It's not a startup anymore, it's a very successful business. But when he started, he had a to-do list. And he rattled off some of the things that were on there. Things like upgrade the technology, hire a team, and he had to get some new office space for expansion. So all of those things are important. I mean, absolutely they needed to be done, or he'd never create and grow the business. But I asked him, Francis, okay, that's all well and good, but what is the number one most important thing you need to do if you're going to build the world-class company you have in mind? He sat back and he said, I need to get the clients. Yeah, you need to get the clients. Ironically, the most important thing about this business success was never even on his to-do list. Don't make that same mistake. The third practice of personal leadership is take action and know what you need to do. In his research for the book Good to Great, Jim Collins wrote, disciplined action without disciplined thought is a recipe for disaster. I would also add that it's a recipe for mediocrity. That's the third practice of personal leadership. You are not mediocre. You are exceptional. Take effective action and do what you need to do. The fourth practice of personal leadership is tap into your brilliance. How many of you woke up this morning and thought about how brilliant you really are? The most successful leaders know what makes them great. And you do too. Research shows that this is no trivial question. The Gallup organization has been studying leaders for over 40 years. And what they've found is that you are most powerful when you are aligned with your strengths. Now, I know that sounds fairly intuitive, but it's actually not the way we usually think. Think about it. If you get feedback, what do you look at, your strengths or your weaknesses? When you're trying to improve yourself, what do you try to improve? The part of you that's already strong or the part of you that seems to be weak? In order to tap into your brilliance, you need to know that your brilliance lies in your strengths. It looks like this. Your greatest room for growth is in the direction of your strengths. If you want to improve your results, you can focus on your weaknesses, and you're going to get a little bit better. But if you focus on your strengths, you're going to get way better. You're going to get exponential results because the possibilities with your strengths are limitless. This is where you're meant to excel. But you can only capitalize on your strengths if you know what they are. So do the self-assessment to understand what makes you great. Ask around for feedback. Do a 360-degree profile. Once you know your strengths, you can build them more and more into your work, your leadership, and your life. So you're, again, leveraging what makes you the most brilliant. That's one of the secrets of exceptional leaders. The way that you can do things faster, easier, and yet get better results is by capitalizing on your strengths. Tap into your brilliance and know what's unique about you. The fifth practice of personal leadership is feel fulfillment. What motivates you and makes you happy? At first blush, that may not sound like a viable business question, but I want to assure you that it is. Like all aspects of personal leadership, there are personal results and business results to this practice. On a personal level, one of my mentors, Stephen Covey, writes, "Deep within us, there is an inner longing to live a life of greatness and contribution, to really matter, to really make a difference. When you know what fulfills you, you're giving of your gifts in a way that also gives back to you." That's a very powerful way to lead. From a business standpoint, fulfillment is also related to another key concept, which is what we call engagement. Engagement is the degree to which you are committed to your work, dedicated at caring about the results, and bringing your best self to your work every single day. And it's important. Research shows that lost productivity due to disengagement and negativity costs the U.S. economy between $250 and $300 billion every year. When people are disengaged, you may know some people like this, or you may even feel this way yourself. They stop caring. And even though they may be making a fine salary, in some cases an exponential salary, they're really not serving the business. And when they stop serving the business and caring about what they're doing, they leave. Remember, deep within us is a drive to care and contribute. So people will search that out. And what's important about that is when people leave their organizations, again, the research shows that it's a very costly mistake. Not only do organizations lose valuable talents, they also lose a very big investment. For executives, high executives alone, losing a senior executive or replacing that senior executive costs them about 5 times that executive's salary. Overall, in the economy, fulfillment and engagement, when they are lacking, cost the economy up to $588 billion a year. That's a pretty powerful reason to care about fulfillment. So should organizations care about their employees' fulfillment? Absolutely they should, and they must if they expect to compete in this economy, and so should you. So how do you feel fulfillment? The key is to understand your values. If you've never actually identified your values, it's a very powerful exercise. Actually name them. What do you care about most? What do you stand for? And how do you define that in your own words? When you can identify your values, you know that you can live in accordance with your values. And here's how you know. When we live in accordance with our values, we experience harmony and satisfaction. When you are out of step with your values, you experience dissonance and stress. So you can test for yourself, to what degree are you feeling fulfillment? And if you're a little bit lacking in that area, clarify your values and try to bring them more into your life. You'll increase your engagement, you'll increase your productivity, and you'll increase your fulfillment. And that's the fifth practice of personal leadership. Now we've come to the sixth practice of personal leadership: maximize your time. How do you achieve more with less? Many of us find ourselves in a time crunch. There is a reporter named Jeremy Lawrence who once called it the curse of the modern world: too much to do and too little time to do it. I know some of you hear that and feel pretty cursed right about now. If you're going to be successful, we've got to break out of that cycle of stress. Let me give you an example of how our thinking about time is all turned around. One of the habits we've fallen into as a culture is multitasking. The reason we've fallen into this habit is because somehow it feels productive. If you can do several things at once, you must be getting more done. But that's not what the research shows. The research shows that multitasking cuts your productivity by up to 30%. In fact, companies lose 2.1 hours a day due to multitasking and other related interruptions. Do you have 2.1 hours a day to spare? Because I know I don't, and neither do your companies, because again, this falls into that category of things that cost companies money. If you're going to be successful, you cannot just squander away your time. You've got to maximize that time in a more powerful way. I call these shortcuts, easy ways to maximize your time and get more out of it. So let me give you an example. As opposed to multitasking, we can practice unitasking. Unitasking means do one thing at a time. Some of us have fallen out of the habit of unitasking, and sometimes it takes practice. But when you get more practiced at unitasking, you're going to increase your productivity. In fact, if you can learn to maximize your time, even just by focusing for 30 minutes straight, just half an hour, on one task with no interruptions, you can increase your problem-solving time by up to 500%. That's a shortcut. Maximizing time happens to be my specialty. I would almost call it a hobby. It's how I can say that I've produced 4 books and written over 100 articles in the same 10 years that I remodeled a house, finished a graduate degree, and had 2 small children. People ask me when they see all of my work, well, you must be extremely busy. You must be a workaholic. What do you work 24/7? You must work all night long. And the truth is, I'm really not. I have what I believe is a very healthy and balanced life. I actually have a clean desk. My emails are read and deleted when they're done. And it's not because I am especially gifted at maximizing time. It's because I work on it and I look for the shortcuts, and you can too. We can talk more about this at the end if you have more questions about maximizing your time. It is a topic that I have found to be extremely popular because everybody needs it. What I want you to know is I'm listening to the questions and I'm hearing the comments I get from people who are so desperate to maximize their time. And I'm starting to collect some of these ideas. I want to say now, before I forget, that I'm envisioning a website or an ebook or some kind of material information that I can provide for you on just this practice alone, because just this practice could fill an entire presentation. So remind me at the end with your questions to talk about how you can get that information. I'll somehow find a way for you to be able to just tell me you're interested, and I will send you that information when it's ready. So maximizing your time is the 6th practice of personal leadership. And now let's move to the 7th practice, building your team. The question here is, who can support you? In this context, the word team has a special connotation. I know that you know as a leader you need a team, and you probably have that team in the form of assistants, partners, contractors, consultants, peers, and employees. And that is an important team, but that is not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about here is the team that supports you, that's express and sole purpose is to help you succeed. Do you have that team?